Okay, so enterprise LAN. We've got a nice little network here. You can imagine there's much more, many more devices on each of these switches, on each of these floors. It's a very basic, generic thing. It's the sort of thing though that you kind of want to bear in mind when you're doing your second assignment. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. This is mostly going towards HNC's students, but it's a nice reminder for HND because you're basically just going to create a mesh. That's the big difference. So certain terms that need to be mentioned: MDF, main distribution facilities. Pardon me. So you've got that. That's basically this sort of thing. So we've got a core switch, and then leads onto those sort of things. It includes your routers and your servers and things like that. This part, and then these would be your intermediate distribution facilities, which is just the access layer switches for your devices, basically. So again, main distribution facilities over here. So your core switch, your router, accessing servers on the internet, whatever, and then intermediate distribution facilities. And they're just your access layer switches for each of your devices, basically. You've got POP, which is your point of presence, so that's your closest to the internet, which is basically here. I'll let you Google some of these. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You would have patch panels with labels on either side in the real world. You'll have done the tour of the college's network. I'll probably do it again, but see if they have them, and if they don't, bear that in mind. So patch panels is basically just what goes from the switches to the device, really, or sometimes from a switch to a switch, but again, things we'll get into. It says here to give the switch an IP address, which let's just have a DEEC. It's not set on this one. Ultimately, that's just so that you can get into it via secure shell and things like that. So you can tunnel into it from somewhere. So we could access this switch from this device to configure things or whatever. And then yeah. So I'm going to click on that, go here. There's a few commands that are useful on a network such as this. There's one that's called show VTP status, which I imagine. Okay. So virtual trunking protocol is not server. Okay, so this particular core switch is set up as the server. What that means is if I create a VLAN on this switch, it will send that information out to the other switches. So again, enable show VTP status. So client, server, client. Sound familiar? I'm asking, honestly, if you don't. Anyways, so yeah, so these would be your clients, that's your server. You make your information here, it passes it out. So if I did another switch, I could put in here VLAN 40, let's say, because we've added a fourth floor. It goes up here, and these would be able to find this. Oh, sorry, these would know that VLAN 40 exists, and eventually would know that it's not configured on this switch, for example. So this server would send it to this switch, who would say, I know where VLAN 40 is, and send it on its way. Basically, after talking to it. But anyways, what else we got? So let's go back to the core. We've also got show VLANs. Well, VLAN. Ooh, let's expand that. So, this is your VLAN status. So again, you've got VLAN 1 is configured on all of these. The only ones that may be configured differently, which we'll have a dig in a second. Yeah, so as you can see, it gets a 20 there. There's some ports missing here, or interfaces missing. They're most likely configured as trunk ports, which we can probably type show trunk and it would show us. But for now, you see the VLANs, the names, and that they are active. These ones you don't use, they're just not for you basically. And here's a bit more information, excuse me. It's an Ethernet. There is some, I don't even know what that stands for, to be honest. Something ID, I'm assuming. But it's basically just more information. I wonder if, just, no, I didn't think so. I could do show IP in brief. So it's just saying that it's on. I have to remind myself of how to do the trunking thing. However, if I just hover over it, you'll see that fast Ethernet 0/21 through to 24 are all got double lines under VLAN. Just means that the set as trunk. So this one, and this one. And all it means is that multiple communications can happen for multiple VLANs on that one cable. That's all it means. And then, so if I do just show VLAN on this one, you'll see that VLAN 10, 20 and 30, it knows it exists. Isn't that amazing? But I digress. Oh, there we go. Show int trunk derp. So there we go. VLAN's allowed on trunk. These are the ports that are trunked. VLAN's allowed and active in management domain. All of them on that trunk. So it's basically just showing us that those are trunked. There you go. It's 802.1 Q encapsulation, which those of you who did it last year should remember. Trunked on native VLAN 1. 1 is always going to be the native VLAN. You don't ever use that one. You can use 2 through to 1000, but then that's it. Not that you would ever need that many, to be honest. And the number naming convention for your VLANs, when it comes to choosing the number, I would try and make it as easy as you possibly can. Do it in like 10, 20, 30 or whatever. Just bear that in mind. But yeah, the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video is Ethernet cabling standards. So here we go. It's not the prettiest picture, but it's there. The two cabling methods, or wiring methods, sorry, for your Ethernet, your RJ45 connections at each end on an Ethernet cable, are known as 568A and B. If you can learn the wiring for that, you're a better man than me. I always need to, a better person, sorry, it's 2019, Barry. I always have to look up the picture because I can't remember it ever. However, you've got you've got UTP and STP. You've got unshielded twisted pairs and shielded twisted pairs. Unshielded is sensitive to EMI and RFI, so electromagnetic interference and radio frequency interference. You would only ever run them at 90-degree angles, it says here, tie wrapped at intervals, and should be ran at ceiling height. They should not, idealistically, be ran alongside cabling, even though that's pretty much how it's done around the college. The majority of the cabling, though, is run through the ceilings, away from the wiring for, the electrics, which goes through to the ground. as it should. And maximum length for each cable is 100 meters. STP is pretty much the same, except for the fact that it's not sensitive to AMI or RFI due to a mesh shielding. It's also more expensive. We have UTP in the F462, so again, you'll get to play with it. It's not hard. You've got Cat 5 and Cat 6. Obviously, there's new ones coming out, but well, there's new ones out, but we'll mostly be talking about Cat 6 because it's the most common one. Difference between them: Cat 5, 100 megabits per second, 6, 1000 megabits per second, or a gigabit. So again, you've got 10 gigabits and whatnot, which is possible on Cat 6, but yeah, not really. The last point that I've got written down here is when in the real world, high voltage and low voltage cabling should be kept separate. So high voltage, again, your wall sockets and whatnot. Low voltage, your Ethernet cables, keep them separate. But yeah, based off of that, so again, this is the old stuff. We've got all this fancy stuff here. It doesn't include Cat 6 on here for some reason, but hey, whatever. I would try and learn the difference between all the different standards and things like that, or at the very least write something down, possibly even include it in an assignment, hint. But yeah, that's basically it. That's your intro, if you like, recap, if you like, of those two different types of networks. Where you going? They're the common ones that you'll probably make. There might be more to this one for HNCs. There's definitely more to this one for HND, but yeah, I'll let you know. Okay.